So we're doing this again. Take two on this one, eh? So I've been thinking about this thing you mentioned last time we talked here, talking about like the idea of tapping out spiritually from getting tattooed. It's something I've been thinking about a lot the last year because I've been ramping up. Like I feel like I'm not slowing down. I've been getting tattooed. I think I had 107 sessions last year. I did a recap YouTube video, and I actually had to go and count how many times I got tattooed. It's 107 times, and I think that's either the most or second most of my whole life. So it's like I'm not anywhere near done, and I don't know what I'm going to do when I am done either. Like it's something I'm tossing around in my head a lot lately.
I mean, you're still able to count it.
Yeah.
And I remember the thing is when I tapped out, I had a very intense year also behind me. I got a lot of scarifications. I got a lot of stuff blacked out for the scarification, and a lot of things on my body done. But before I had almost 6 years, like a strike, I call it, where I didn't get modes. I get sometimes like a 2-minute tattoo session, a 5-minute session, just fun, small stuff, but I not was go into a real session. Mm-hmm. Like my mindset was, I'm done. It's very, very hard once to go out, but also to go back into, because not only about, it's not that you're like scared of the pain and stuff, but this is not what holds me back. It's more also, you know that when you start again to get constantly stuff done, you into this,
Yeah.
And then you get new ideas and new stuff. And at some point, nothing is holding you back anymore. Then it's just like, for me, like in the same house, I have like a lot of really good tattoo artists. I don't have to pay them. I write one message and 5 minutes later I get tattooed when I want. So it's like,
that's where
it's
I'm at.
very, very risky. The same, I have a lot of good people who make body modifications, are close friends of mine. They visit Silent constantly, and everybody here get new modes and get new tattoos on every day, So it's like hard to tap out. And no, I see like I'm into all of this. And there are so many ideas, and it's really crazy how to bring myself back to a place where I say, no, that's it. And for me, it's not very good because I'm into this ultra trail running thing. So I train a lot. I have big races where I run over 100 kilometers over mountains and things. So I know I cannot be too handicapped. Last year, I got all of this scarification while I train, and then it was become part of my running ritual. So when it was I ran my first 100-kilometer race with 5,500 high altitude meter and 114 kilometers distance. And 1 hour before the start of the race for my first ultra trail marathon ever, we pulled out 2 big signs out of my calves in the leg, because at some point it was so much me and the scars and the healing, and I run with all the side pelt off my face. In the winter, I run through the forest while the healing. And I convince myself it's good because it's cold outside, so I cool it down,
Yeah.
And I come back and my face, like, I go for like 10-kilometer run and my face was swollen like this after. So it just was become once for me. And then I go into this race and I had my calves open. This was really madness. So I'm done with this. So now I know in March I start running again, and I was come from 1 month running in Scotland. So now I have my 2 months of window of getting ink and getting scars and getting stuff. So I arrive, I got here some fresh scars, I got here some fresh scars, I got like these piercings, I got like little implants in my hands. I don't know, it was run a little out of control, so I know heal it, and then now I have this little window. And I think it's good, it helps me, because I not have to live with a constant stuff healing on my body and going in this mindset.
I've found, like, for whatever reason, like the last couple years, I've been healing really, really easily. Like it's been easier than ever, and I barely even think about having anything freshly done. Like I think it's just my body is like almost acclimatized to this.
But I ask you, is this that you heal better, or is this just that you're used to it? Because
I don't know.
I don't know. I heal everything good, but also like my friends and people around say, man, it's always horrible with you. It's not that I heal stuff good. I just give a shit.
Yeah,
like that's what I mean. I get my full face pelt and I go one day later running 10 kilometers in the winter through the forest. Like I would say everything was cool, but like the people's around me, they see me and they say like, no, man, like the guys who work on me say like, you have to take rest, not like you always do. I know you never take rest.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
It's not everything heals on me, but I wouldn't say it heals better than like when I was younger. It's just like I give less a shit about.
Yeah, I there's part of that because like I definitely don't take much time off working out. Like if I get tattooed, it's like, as long as I'm not, falling apart, I'm back at it. I remember I used to think like, oh, I got to take a lot of time off. Now it's just like, no, I'm just going to keep going. It doesn't even, it's barely even a concern. So I don't know if that's actually that my body does better with it or that it's just a mental thing or what it is. But conditioning, I think, is important physically and mentally. And I've heard this idea that things get more painful as you get older, a lot. But I think that's more like we just get out of the rhythm and we just don't do the journey anymore. And then you go back in,
but
like you said.
That's what I mean, when you're once in, you're in. Also, when you say you got like 170 sessions or something in a year, that's like half a year. When you would take every time a day break, you cannot work half of the year, and you're a daddy, you have to make an income and like take care of other stuff. Like you have to integrate it in your life. It was the same with me, and last year with the scars, I got so much scarification on my body, but also it was my first year of ultra running, so I had to do a lot of training, and I could just not make long breaks. Because it was either way, but I'm not the either way person, so I just drop it all in the round. What ended up to like when I go for my first run, I was just like, it feels silly to like go for like a long run without having something to heal on me. So that's why I bring Nicholas, and he just pells something out of my body just before the start. I don't know if it makes sense or not. It made a lot of sense for me,
Yeah, that's all that matters. It's never
but
makes
also,
sense
some stuff you do. I love to do the stuff for the challenge and for like to see how strong I am.
Yeah.
And so, yes.
So that was me with this year, or this last year, I guess now. We just wanted to see if we could physically do my whole back blackout in a session. We did it twice because the first session was a lot of blood and there was a lot of trauma and it didn't heal incredibly well. But the second time, it looks good now. But that was more for science or something than it was for, like, I wasn't impatient. It wasn't like, oh, I gotta get, it was more like, I wanted to know if I could still sit for that. Because I know I could have done something like that when I was younger. But like, for me, I was like, am I still able to do this? And it was almost like proving it to myself. And also, for the guy doing it, he was just deeply curious if he could actually saturate that much skin on me in that amount of time.
We had once a friend of mine. We made, I had 3 people helping me, and we made his entire back piece with zero skin left, and he had nothing before. So he had pretty much a bodysuit completely, but without the back.
Yeah.
So the back was his last thing he kept for something special. So we made his back piece with a design, like very simple black-white design, and everything what was like skin, I put light gray inside to just have it 100% covered. And we made the entire piece in 74 minutes.
Yes, I know about this 74-minute back piece, and I don't think I was trying to break any records with it. I was more or less just like wondering if I could sit for it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get, I've been in this for a while now, and like yourself, I just wonder sometimes am I still as strong as I used to be.
I mean, but for him was the same. For him, it's a very good friend of me, someone very strong, and it was a test for him. For us also, after we done this, I didn't publish anything about this for 6 years because I was also, I was with him on the couch. I took him in my bed to rip away his blanket in the night, that his fever not go too high. I sit with him in the bath tube to clean him. I took care of him for 1 week. Because the risk after, when you give this amount of trauma in such a short time to a body, it's crazy. It took 3 days that his body stopped like sweating and bleeding from the tattoo, you know, because he had such a high fever, and we cool him down. He was shaking because he was so cold, and I grabbed his cover. We had big fights, you know, for the cover, and I took care that it's not get too crazy. And he was prepared 2 months before. He eat healthy, he made diet and stuff, and he was like, built his body up to be on a really strong peak for this. And it completely ruined him. And after, I was really scared that some idiots trying to break the record, because for us, it was not about the record. It was for him to see how strong he is. And for us was how fast we actually can do an entire back piece. When we really want, you know.
Can we do this?
I bring the same team together then for the third dimension. What was the 10 people back piece? So we was the exact same group. We had 2 helpers and 4 tattooists for this. And we planned 1 week. We built a special chair. We made choreography on his back. We used henna for the design so that we can train to see how we go through the design without every tattooist is in each other's way. And we planned this for 1 week. So we took the same amount of time then for the third dimension piece for this, to just execute it in once. And we know we will make it only one time. It's not about setting records. It's about to really see how far we can push the boundary of tattooing. And it was in the time when I was really pushing boundaries of tattooing. But also sometimes you push boundaries and you are scared of the impact it leaves in the world, because some of the stuff I done have left a big impact in the world. And in my eyes, a lot of the things not a good one. And from this point, I was scared to make this, and some idiots trying to make it, and then they fuck up the customers, because I know I can do a full sleeve in a session. I done many times, but I have the customers here in my place, in my guest house. I supervise them. I scream at them when they not have their arm up in the next 2 days, you know, and it's easy to make this to a person, but to heal it and get the people out of this, it's a different thing. And I see many works people make like this 80% sleeves in one session, and it's horrible scarred. The people have a real long trauma and they don't want to get tattooed anymore, and then they have to cover it again.
Something I was going to bring up.
This is not what you want as a tattooist, you know. I mean, I love to push the peoples into crazy rituals and to help them to push their boundaries and see what's possible with the body. But somewhere you have to find what's a healthy level. What at some point was also the part why I was knowing it's my time to tap out of being a tattoo artist, because at some point it was scary what I did to peoples, you know. You push boundaries so far on peoples, and also with this, you as the tattoo artist, the guidance, I don't know how you to call it, but you are the one bringing that people into this ritual and guide them through. So your mind gets so strong to understand the peoples and to push them through this. So, you know, this game can be pushed. This is not the end, but I don't want it push further, you know. I don't want it keep pushing and at some point hurt someone really. Like, I don't know, where's the line? At some point, someone die from fucking tattooing, you know? Like,
well, and that could be the case. Like, I see myself more and more alien to the things that are going on in the tattoo world these days. Like, these big anesthesia groups that are doing tattoos. Have you seen this, where they put people under?
Yeah, and the last thing we see, they do a full back, a leg in one session, and we were thinking, the trauma after must be horrible for the body, because you also, I think when you have a really big session, but you go through the session full sober, the body get all the trauma and the pain already in the session. So the healing after is much gentler. While when you take strong painkillers or you use anesthetic cream or something like this, the trauma after is much worse for the body, and the healing also. So that means the bigger the stuff you make with anesthesia or painkiller, in my eyes, the more horrible the healing. And with putting people in sleep for that long, with that amount of artists working on someone, it must be like not cool after, or you have to give them 2 weeks of morphine to heal a tattoo then.
Yeah, and these are people keeping in mind that almost no exposure to tattooing to begin with. Like they don't want to interact.
Yeah, very little, yeah.
And they have no idea otherwise how to heal it. So it's like they're going in and having these life-altering experiences, almost like extreme surgery at some level, I would think. You know? Like when you do that much to someone in one session, it's like there's no way that's going to go well. There's no way it's going to heal great. That's what I would think.
I mean, it's always the back and forth, you know. I got this year last year I got my under my feet tattooed, and I had a doctor who put anesthetic on me, and it was the worst tattoo session I ever had in my life, because it's hard to say. I know the tattooing I didn't felt, you know, but after I healed a lot of layers on my body and a lot of horrible parts. We tattooed under my feet one side already before, and it didn't stay. So I was like, this time, okay, I've just 2, and we just dotted in like super brutal. And so like this was a good option. I had the chance to make it, and I was like curious about also. And I think the healing fucked me up so much. I was almost 1 month it took me for healing this, you know. I was 1 week, I could barely move from the couch. And like, I never was so fucked from a tattoo after. And we talked then about this and have our theories. And we think it's because I get no trauma at all while the session, that everything hit in the days after, but because it hit in slow. Because then you take a couple of painkillers in the first day that you survive the night. And so I think the trauma slightly fades into it, you know. And I'm not a big fan of painkillers, so I try to avoid it usually. And so like also I don't take drugs and stuff, so my body is very sensitive. When I take ibuprofen, it helps me a lot, you know. I don't need strong painkillers because I don't take much. And it was so horrible. The healing after, I was fucked in my mind, while I had sessions, I would say, for my body 10 times harder, like big places, like, I don't know, get like both armpits, the full ass, and like something more in one session, you know. And then you walk like this out, and 1 day later I feel good, you know. I feel good because the session was so horrible that everything after the session is just better.
Yeah, no, I get I don't know, I get tattooed usually twice a week, and because I don't do anything like that, it's like an hour or 2 later, most of the pain is gone, and you're just living. But like people who use even numbing creams for very basic things, it seems to be that they get a lot of pain after the session. And I think it's because they haven't had the endorphin, they haven't engaged with the pain, they're not coming down from it, they're going into it. You know what I mean? Like, so everything that happens after a session, if it's done properly, it should start to feel better in time, not worse in time.
I mean, with the cream, when I was a tattoo artist, I forbid my customers to use cream, because for once, I've had the feeling that the amount of cream, it's even fucks them more up as when they would take some painkillers, because it's also so much substance what goes in the body, and strong substance. And the second is that the healing was mostly like not good. The skin changes from the texture of the skin. For tattooing, it's not good. And the main problem I had when they patch a place like this and I go slightly out of this field, that's it. You cannot tattoo them like on other fields. But my tattoos was so big and I never really know where I was going in a session because I mostly worked on bodysuits. It was anyway no way.
They're gonna need to numb their entire body.
And I mean, it sounds maybe brutal, but like some customers, they come, they know we tattoo the front, they put cream on one side of the ribs. Then I tattooed the other side in this session, you know, and from that point, they never bring cream anymore, because also I believed in this, you know. I mean, there are some parts like when you get your genitals tattooed, we recommend people the cream because it works good. It's okay. And for the tattooist, it's 10 times easier than to make it without for most for most, you know.
Yeah.
But also normal, the peoples we tattoo like the genitals are peoples, they not fetish peoples who want their genitals tattooed. They're peoples like us who have a full bodysuit, and at some point a white wiener looks just silly, you know. So it's just a necessary step, which you at some point, you always say, I never will do this, but at some point you stand there and you full covered and these white things stick out, and then you are there, you know, and you sure can make it.
Well, and then, you know, I feel like you've earned it at that point. Like if you want to, like, if
this is the point.
Really
this is the point. What I always say. At some point, you earned this. You know, you got your soul, and when you add these parts, fuck off some cream. You know.
Yeah, and you know, if you've been through like I think I'm more scared to try it because I know so well what it feels like. I've never used any numbing cream still, and that's not me bragging. It's just I'm almost scared to try it because I'm so used to knowing what things feel like. I don't like the idea of what is it gonna feel?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, you're right, because once you're there, usually there's no way back. I know, like, customers, they start taking strong painkillers, there's no way back. People using cream, there's no way back. And okay, when you make small tattoos, but when you work on bodysuits, you can't do it. And I seen with other friends I had, they work on people's and they once start using cream, they cannot tattoo them on places without cream anymore. And then it's a big hassle. And over such a big body, it's so much money, so much toxic shit you put on your body, so much more hard healing, and so many other factors come together. So sure, I always tell to the people, push it as far as you can, you know. And normally what we always done with bodysuits, we try to do the horrible parts first, do the back, the ribs, the front first, and the sleeves, like the arms. I made arms beside. So that means when I was tattoo someone on a suit and we make like a session on the front, and after 80% of the session it's too much for him on the front, then I go and tattoo his sleeves. And so at the end of the bodysuit, just with the little leftover of sessions, I made the sleeves. Because, you know, the arms, like you have a bad day, the arms you can get tattooed anyway. And after getting tattooed 2 hours on the ribs, getting like a couple of minutes on the arm, it's no brainer.
I feel that way on like the top of my head actually, and my chest. The top of my head and my chest are very, very easy ones for me. And like those, like when people see me getting my head tattooed, I tattooed my head like 16 times last year, and I enjoy it every time. It's almost like a massage. But like everyone will feel that pain differently in different areas, and so I always recommend people give it a shot first. Meanwhile, here at the shop that I work at, we have people numbing their arms. Like, this is going to be a cakewalk.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to be a dick, but the arm is pleasant. Like, getting a tattoo on your arm is it's a good time. Like, I actually enjoy having my arm tattooed.
I wouldn't say enjoy, but like, it's really easy, you know. I would say.
Well, I mean, I've been in it too long, maybe, because like I'm usually just chatting and hanging out, and like I find it very pleasant to have an arm tattoo these days. And like in terms of what I do, some other times,
but also maybe
like
you and me are not the perfect.
Oh yeah,
you know, to say this. Like I didn't get tattooed so much over the years, but no, when we start, we had to cover my face black also for make all the scarification and my chest, and we put a couple of red lines and things, and then we also touched up the rest of my body just because why not, you know. Over many years you get some scars there, and you get some mosquito bites you scratched open, leave some marks, and so it's good to make some nice solid spring cleaning after like 6 years of non-tattooing. And when we then tattoo the arms, it's like, you know,
Yeah, this is great.
It's like a break.
Like this week, I did a session where we did some blue and pink lines over top of some purple and blue that I did all over my torso. So we did some blue and pink line work, and we saturated the center here again. That's the third time we've done color over top of black. That was done over top of black and white and black, and something like 15, 16 layers in. And so we did all this and took 3.5 hours. And then I sat down and I had some work done on my arm again here. And I was thinking, yeah, this is easy. This is good. Like, this was all way worse, right? So what I would always say is, like, before you decide you're not going to enjoy it or it won't be okay or whatever, I think you should try it before you do numbing cream right away. A lot of people they're going straight for the cream.
Yeah,
now.
but like nowadays creams are so easy accessible everywhere, it's crazy. And
yeah, they're everywhere.
I think I anyway think today everything is way too easy, Also like people, they get straight visible places tattooed. I never done this, Also people here in our shop in Silent, we don't tattoo people on hands, neck, faces when they not earned it, We are really, I was very old school with the rules, and like I teach that to all my guys, and here is a strict old rules policy when it comes to this. Like if it's guest spots, if it's other people's, whatever, It's like, I think it's a part of the journey. And for me, it's also for the peoples who get tattoos. Do you have so much blood on the body? You don't need to go straight for your hands. Also, at some point, you are ready for this. And then you will have that design on the hands or on the neck where much more is who you are. And with all the experience you have from tattooing. And also, you're much more likely to be ready for living like this for the rest of your life. And you will never regret it than when some young folks just think it's cool. They go to the next tattooist. They say, no problem, but the neck is painful. I give you cream. And this is the world now, and I hate it personally.
Getting my first face tattoo, I got my first face tattoo done nearly 14 years ago, and it was hard to get it done. No one would do it. Even the guy that was doing most of my tattoos, and I was heavily tattooed already, and I had many more piercings than I have now in my face then.
Yeah.
And even then, he was like, I don't tattoo faces.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Get out of here. Don't ask me again. These days, they're done, I've seen people do them as walk-ins.
Yeah, I mean, but this was back then, it was normal. I think my hands tattooed, like my fingers, 20 years ago, and I was just 18, and it took me really a while to find a tattoo guy who make it. I had some tattoos, and I explained them I'm a punk, I'm a skateboarder, and I don't want to have a normal life, and this will be my statement to myself and it was these tiny letters, you could work as a doctor somewhere. But back then, and everybody freaked out after I had it. Everybody was like, you will never have a normal job again. And I was a fucking gardener, But they was like, you will not find a job again as a fucking gardener because of teeny letters on the knuckles. But back then, it was a different time, huh? But also the tattoo artists just don't do it. You just was not going to studio and they say, yeah, no problem. So I ended up with a 1%er gang tattoo guy, which I talked into this. But even he was like, I convinced him that this is my path,
And that time, the guy I did get to do my face tattoos, because if you really want something like that done, you're gonna probably find a way. But the guy who did it, he wasn't the best artist. I got not the best result.
Yeah, you cannot choose then.
Those tattoos have been covered up now. But I got what I wanted, but it was not from who I wanted it to be done by. So I think that's better still. I think it's still better that people don't want to do it just on anyone, and it was hard to get it done. I think that's good. I think there was probably some happy medium, but I think that if I had to choose between being able to get it done as a walk-in on your face and having almost no one who will do it, I think I'd go back.
Yeah, for sure, because you start double think it many times. You start really are you ready, and when you really do it, you are really ready for it also. And this is what I really want, not just, okay, it's no cool, it's no problem, everybody have it or whatever. It's really, man, this is a serious thing, you get tattooed something in your face. This is a serious thing, or it should be a serious thing.
Yeah. So this year I had my eyelids tattooed, and they didn't bother me at all. There was no change for me. My living was I was like, oh yeah, they should have always been there. Like, it didn't bug me that
Yeah,
much.
but you already crossed the point, you know, you are like, you crossed the point for, it's very silly because, you know, I experienced this transformation with many people. I have many of my friends I transformed to like really crazy, you know, and customers, and I witnessed this journey with a lot, and everybody is like, I cannot do this or this. And it's like, because a lot are, when they wanted to get a face from me, they know like with me, it's not, I not make like these little things, you know, I'm making something more radical. And they was like, yeah, I'm not ready for this. But even they looked like you and they like full covered, but they like felt they are not ready because they still look normal. But I can tell you, you not look normal when you go out in society, you know, you maybe because you're into this world, you know how the real freaks look, I say, you know. You see me and you think like, yeah, you still look normal. But when we both go out here in my village, we both look the same for the peoples out there.
When I see you, I relate more to you than I do most people I see. Like, because for me, the difference of doing the rest of my face would be not so much. Like, especially the way I think of things, this could be done next week. So for me, it's like there's a very thin line there that could easily be crossed.
Yeah, but I mean, it's for all of us like this. And I once was there, you know. I get my face tattooed like maybe the amount like you had when I was like around 19, 20. I have to say with 21, my first bodysuit was fully done. So, and my face was the last white spot on my body, like real white, like the sides but like the front was still like my face, you know. Then you're like, yeah, this is the neck, this is the ear, you know, this is the head.
Keeps coming up.
And then I was like, I really liked my first face design also. It was like probably one of the first sketchy face tattoos ever done. And because back then there was only 2 or 3 people tattooing this style in the world. So like Lionel from Out of Step, he was from French. He was one of the first who made these avant-garde tattoos. But back then I was the only one who made it like big. So I had him tattoo my face with my design in a sleeping room from a friend where we meet because he was always traveling. So it was the only way where I could meet him. And I wanted to have it done in private and not on a convention or in a stranger tattoo studio. And so I really liked my first face tattoo. So we ended up just putting a layer of gray over my full face so that for myself, I'm 100% tattooed, but like I still look like this, you know. So you see like a lot of the old pictures from me, you see that like my face looked very tattooed, but like still not so much. But then you look and you see it's all layers of gray.
Yeah, I'm like, these days, everything for me is about experience. It's become less about like what you're actually getting, and I have this deep interest in just knowing what every part of it feels like. And I was telling a friend the other day, I really want my nose tattooed, but I don't want a nose tattoo.
Go for light gray.
Yeah, and that's actually a thought in my mind all the time. It's like, I need to know what all of this feels like because I still have
But
questions.
I can tell you like everything centers down here is some of the worst parts on the fucking body.
That's what I keep hearing, and like that's what's making me more curious about it because it's like, oh, okay, I still have some new things to do.
And then,
but they wouldn't take me. Like, you're going to be looking back on that real quick, so like you're going to get through that experience. There's no way you're not going to, and so then it's like, do you really want to, or do you just want to know? Like, so much of life is just experience now for me that it's the aesthetic doesn't matter as much anymore. Like, I did this rose sleeve largely just to see how well this would work. Like, the idea of doing the next layer, how good we could get. It wasn't like, oh, I need to have some roses on my arm. I just wanted to do something big, bold, and simple here. And this may get covered up too. Like, it was never like, oh, I have to do this because I like roses. Like, it was never that kind of a project. I remember doing my first sleeves, it was like, oh, I really like this. Oh, I really like that. Now it's just like, what's next? Like, let's keep this thing going. You know, I want to do more. I want to create something new and see how many layers the body can take. And like this sleeve, next time we speak, there'll be more color in this. All of this is going to be colored. And then the next time we speak, it might be gone. Like I might be on to the next thing. And I'm just curious how long that can continue. Like how many layers you could take, you know?
Yeah, but that's also the question. I think there is no end with this, you know?
I don't think so either.
For me, at some point was I can't tell you how long I got tattooed. For me, also, I got tattooed in a lot of traditional ways from like a lot of different persons and different techniques. And I like to experience all the traditional part of tattooing. And, so like my first bodysuit took like many sessions, and I maybe was done with 21, but I had like 3-4 sessions a week sometimes, like really constant.
That's how my
constant. I was like like in healing 3 years, in pain of tattooing, pain of healing, so it integrated this in my life. And the second suit was more simpler, but then at some point I got like, I don't know, I have 150 sessions with monks on me. Like even more, because some of them tattoo with oil in the face where you not even have visible things. It's more the ritual of it. And, you know, at some point you stop counting anything, and it's just about, like, why not? And I don't know. Like at some point, for me, it was this progression of life, you know. I not want to stuck always in the same thing in life, you know, in the same chapter. That's the same if it comes me as the one how I look. Sure, I progress, but maybe I progress in a different way, you know. And don't get me wrong, I love transforming my body. I love the experience of it, you know. But for me, going in a transition was like it's still a crazy experience, you know. And there's still a lot of stuff to do, and I'm very in the beginning of this. While like in a lot of the body modifications I had, I was more going backwards. When I was younger, I had a lot of implants, I had a lot of piercings, I had large piercings everywhere, and I got a lot of stuff removed. Just because at some point you live, I remember when I made the decision that I don't want to wear piercings on my body anymore. I had a lot of big, large piercings. And it took me 1 year to remove a lot of them, to stitch the holes. Like you have a big labret, you have to stitch it, you have to close it. And then this year, I don't want anything in my body anymore. And this was my ritual for this year. So we took out all the transdermal implants I had, all the subdermal implants I had, all the large piercings. While in this year, the only piercing I never had and I always wanted was a transcrotal. So I got a 2 centimeter transcodal stitched in, like just get it in, heal it, take it out, because it was in the year of me taking everything out, just so I had it. And I don't know if it makes sense, but like for me, done.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense to me. Like that's exactly where I'm at. It's like, oh, I knew that I did it. You know, and I know how it feels. Because like that's more curious to me than the aesthetic is. And like I had a lot more piercings, and I've taken a lot of them out, and I probably won't get any more. And even the ones I do have used to be quite a bit bigger. Like this was twice the size a few years ago. But I just shrunk
I mean, I done the same. I shrunk down because it was annoying. But at some point, I was there, and I made for myself the decision. No, I take everything out of my body, you know. And it was a crazy decision. And it's kind of silly because I think it's probably 12, 13, 14 years ago when I took everything out. And at some point, like when I was going to the female transition, I put just some little bit jewelry in, but it was all inexistent holes. And no, last week I got like this little glitter, I don't know, dermal things, how they called, because we have a friend here, she makes this, and like, let's give it a try. But then I realized, oh man, it really fucked me up, because it was like, I didn't get a piercing for like, 20 years almost or something, because or like not 20, but like when I took them out is already like so long ago. And before I took them out, most of the piercings I had was quite old. I just start stretching them, but like like I got a lot of piercings when I was between, I would say 18 and 20. That was my super experimental piercing time, and then it was become more body modification. So all the piercings I had was very huge and large, stretched. Most of them was not pierced, they was cut or punched. So it's not really the glass piercings anymore. And so it's kind of so long ago in my journey. It's very, very silly. It also, I don't know if you see, I have this one line cut now here.
Yeah.
And this was actually, this next to it is my wedding ring with my wife. But the line was because the very first modification I had in my face was getting 3 lines cut or pelt over my face like this. So under the black, you see like the old lines, and we put like one of the old lines back now in just as for myself as memory of my very, very, very first me. From many me's I left behind me in this journey. And it's kind of my homage to it. And no, we made like little X implants in my hand, but just very, very like this size only on the edge. But when I was young and in my peak of my straight edge time, I had these huge X's in my hand that implanted like so massive. And I had so many implants in me, and I didn't have any of this. And no, it's more like, I don't plan to get more implants or stuff again. It's more like a memory of my old times, because I feel very old now, and it's more like a memory for myself, kind of like the line. I look in the mirror now and I see the old lines, and it reminds me of my journey and of how many times I tapped out of one thing to start a new thing, you know?
Yeah, I do know. Like, I feel like I've done something similar to that, but it's been like, this will only ever make sense to the individual. Like what you just said, like that's all personal, right? And that'll make sense to you. And like if you explain it, then it'll make sense to someone else. I have my own versions of those things where other people won't recognize that, but I've transitioned into different parts, different chapters, whatever the case, and it's always personal. Like when you're trying to explain the meaning of a tattoo or something to someone, and it's like, well, I got this lion because my grandfather was a war, like, you know what I mean? Like it's something that only you will ever understand, and so I take it a little humorous when people say none of your tattoos have any meaning, and to me it's like all of my tattoos have a great meaning, but none of that can be explained to someone else. You know, it's like it will never translate to anyone else what this means.
Yeah, that's how it should be, you know.
But I look at your body of work, and I think how incredibly thoughtful that must be. But most people would probably think no thought went into any of it, which is pretty wild to me.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I mean, a lot of it is very thoughtful, because I'm an artist, you know. Everybody who knows me more more for my art than how I look, I would say. Because when I was little swastika, and there are like, from this time area of my life, you find 3-4 pictures in the internet, because I not that I looked like this, because experience made me to the artist I was, but I not defined myself over my look. And I was sure people know that like I look like this, but I was more known for my art and for my tattooing than for how I look. Like nowadays, there are some characters, they're very famous because just they look. And like I'm not known for my look, or like everybody knows I look different, but this is not why I'm known, you know, because for me it was just one part go together somewhere, but it was never about this. Yeah. But sure, as an artist, I make cool stuff to other people, and I think like, oh man, why I have so much crap on myself? What can I do? What can I fix? But on the other hand, at some point, I had to let it go, you know. I call it like when I made the layer under this layer in my face, when I had the big life written over my face. This was when I truly committed to myself to let go, because I liked my face tattoo before. And even with the gray layer and what I had before, the crazy stuff I got from my first bodysuit, I got the rest of my body covered and almost black and changed, you know, to at least look like one thing, like one suit. And the face was the last, and I don't want to let it go, because I don't want to let go my face. And then I was thinking about this weird design with just that it looks like someone roll over my face. And it was a statement to myself. First, a statement for my all over repeating mantra of my body, life, because everything in my life is about life, you know. It's like, this is my inspiration, this is my goal, like, this is how I define myself. The only thing I want is to live, to have the experience of life. This life is one ritual, one journey, and I want to get the maximum out of it. And I want to be reminded every fucking day, this is it, you know. So I, like, most of the things on my body stand life, very simple, life and love and like so on. And I had this idea and like I painted this, and the other day when we were sorting some pictures, we found this where I had my friends painted on me like I visioned it. And with the paint marker, it looked terrifying, you know, with the black paint marker. And then my friend here joked like, wow, when you see this and then you do it, that really takes balls, you know. And I was explaining him, yes, it was really hard for me to talk myself into this then, you know, because you're scared from it, then you paint it, and it was the worst idea to paint it before, you know, because then you're like, yeah, the paint marker looks much more radical than the tattoo, you know. But it's true in a way, but in another way, you know, the paint marker you can wash off, you know, but you use this technique to convince yourself, to talk you into this, to cross like a line you don't want to cross. But on the other hand, I love to cross these borders, you know. Most of the borders I crossed to prove myself. I crossed them for myself, to grow with it, you know, to understand, man, how life is, to really fuck myself like this, you know, to really let go of my face, like my human face, like this. Sort of.
I gotta say,
and I wanted experience not only to doing it, but also to go out in the world, to live like this, to really be stamped, you know. And I was stamped by life, because I say life is more important for me than interaction of people, of anything visual, anything aesthetical. So I put experience first of anything. And this was the statement to myself. And it was a very big step, but it was like one of the strongest steps I took in my life, you know, because after this, I really was give a shit. And it helped me a lot to go in life with really don't care anything anymore. From someone who was, you think you don't care what people think or do, but really to understand that you there, it's a difference. The same when I started my transition. I was before think like, yeah, I'm man enough to like go with a dress on a festival. Then I was there. I joke about this like, yeah, you know, it's like I'm man enough to understand that my male ego, I in control of this, you know, I'm not influenced by society and by other people's. And then I was so chicken out so many times till the first time I just wear a pink skirt and I go in public, you know. And then you understand, man, it's so silly. You think you are a fucking strong guy, but then you chicken out to fucking wear a skirt in public. And it's silly, you know, because then you understand that you are not fucking strong. You're strong in the box society tells you are. And it's so hard to let go from something like this, because then you're like, yeah, I'm gone from this, you know. Then I wear 2 years only skirts after this to like, dive into, you know. And then you understand, man, you're still the fucking same male ego, which you are still stuck in your fucking same box. You just believe you're stronger because no, you wear a skirt, but you're the fucking same coward than before. And then I just have to like push things a lot further to break myself in a way that I truly get something out of it. But so many times we stuck in that box that we think that is what we are, but we aren't, you know. We are like, we think, or like that's for me. And it's so hard. You think you're free, you're not. You think you give a shit, you're not, you know, because your subconscious not. And to really break the fucking ego of your subconscious is fucking hard work. It takes a lot of radical steps, maybe.
Way more radical steps than what most people are looking to get into, for sure. And I feel like the more
radical steps than you think yourself you won't get into, you know.
I think the more you do of that, the more you can do of that, though, too. Like you take a step, you can take another step, and then eventually it gets harder and harder to do that. But something I wanted to mention about my eyelid tattoos before the thought escapes me is I had these done. I didn't think anything about it. It was something I wanted to do. I've had many face tattoos forever. Like, to me, it was like whatever. But for whatever reason, it had this crazy adverse reaction from some of the people who watch my content, where I wasn't expecting it, because like I've done so much to my face kind of gradually that it made people very uncomfortable for some reason. And like I only want to mention this because just because you're comfortable with something doesn't mean that the world will be. And so I think a lot of people getting face tattoos these days without thinking about it should probably understand that, like, just because you're cool with it doesn't mean that the world you're interacting with is going to see it the same way. And so there should be a pretty heavy disclaimer there. Like, I didn't expect the result I got over that one.
But also, I believe your actions should not be connected to what other people think, you know.
Oh no!
But also, my thoughts of how we live in society are very radical, you know, and it's pretty much on the edge of what most humans should be. But also, in my version of how I see society, my version would not work. There would not be a society. There would be no human interaction, and it would not work. So it's also not highly recommended for everyone. It's maybe for the 0.01%, and then they are like on the edge of society, and still society works. So it's all good.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that one. I wanted to point out that it's not always necessarily about what you're comfortable with either, though. It's the world we engage with will only allow so much in this context. So if you're going to be doing things like that, you should have an established like means of living already. I feel like you should have your kind of life in order when you get into that sort of thing. So I don't really think it's a great place to start.
No, but then we are back to the point, when most of the tattoo artists would honor the old rules, then there wouldn't be problems like this at all, because then people have already a lot of tattoos, so there are a lot more knowledge within that. They're already a little bit older, and they already settled in life more, because with 20 you are a different person with 30, no matter what person you are, where you are in the world. What you done in life, with 20 you are different than with 30, because it's 10 years of a lot of experience.
Yeah, and well, you know, I think a lot of people don't want the experience as much as they used to. It seems like it's just, I want my, you know, $1.99 cheeseburger, hot, fresh, ready to go type thing. I don't want any of what went into it. It's just, I want the result now. When I had my back blacked out in the one session, it created a bit of a bad situation here at the shop, where a lot of people want to come and get things like that done because they've seen me do it, and we're having to tell people that we're not going to do that for them, and they're not always happy to hear that. So I think a lot of people just want that pretty picture they've seen on Instagram, and they don't want to know what went into that. You know, they don't want to live with the consequence of that. Especially a lot of the stuff that I'm doing now, where it's this multi-layer over black, a lot of people are seeing that and wanting that, but that can't be done in one session. Not well.
Yeah, but also I have the feeling like this black work thing also goes, in my eyes, a little bit out of control, that like people have nothing and they just start blacking out everything. And I think for me as an artist, it's so fucking boring on my body. I wouldn't be that black when I would start again, you know. I would like fucking be colorful as shit, man. I would have like a lot of contrast. I would probably had some chunks of black, but it would look a lot more radical than just black. A lot of the just black, it doesn't matter how black and good it looks, it just looks like people wear a long sleeve or something. And it's, for me, very boring. It's okay when it's like, I had like tattoos we had to cover for my first bodysuit. Then we made the second suit over, and okay, at that point you like have not many options anymore. Like, no, this option on my face, like how much options I had. You know, like with my face was like to 95% black, a little bit of gray and a little bit of color in between. like, yeah, I didn't, you know. So like, no, we scarred out, and then the scars, when they heal, we make him pink. But also for me, I just could fringe with the idea of making multiple layers of white everywhere. I'm more the radical person, so I also like to. And also, it's hard to say, because to get a lot amount of scarification on your body weakens your body, because it's the skin is the biggest organ we have on the body. So every scars I had, I stopped getting scars on my body also like a decade ago at least, because I felt every time I got sick, the scars start itching, the scars like swelling, and you feel the impact. And I have many friends tell the same, you know. So scars are a very big impact in the body. And all people I know with many scars, and also I had a lot of scars before in my body, you feel it. So I don't wanted it because it weakens my body. But now I'm at the point I won't be stronger, you know. But like I'm a very strong person when it comes to my mind and when it comes to pushing my body and my boundaries. So it was kind of a challenge within, you know. I wanted like scars. I wanted make my body tougher with it as well. And I got like scars like on my neck, on my face, you start on my arms, on my hands, and on my legs. And like I take it, okay. I'm not sure if it's healthy, but like honestly, getting this amount of ink on the body, it's not healthy. But it's still...
Well, anything in excess, you know? It's like, there's no way it's healthy.
Yeah, there's no way it's healthy. But on the other hand, you know, I don't smoke for 20 years. I don't drink for 20 years. I don't consume drugs. I eat healthy for 20 years. I make everyday sport. I'm a fucking healthy person, you know? So I'm still healthier than most people who do nothing on their body but smoke, you know?
Too. Like, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I keep myself in good shape. And so far, I've had no real bad health problems. Maybe one day I will. But I mean, that's life. You can't escape death anyway. It's not like we're going to live forever no matter what we do. So to me, it's like, if you enjoy this thing and you know the risks going into it, then it is what it is. I haven't had any problems from any of my tattoos. I've had a few infections. But when you get that many hours, how is that not going to happen?
I think when you have so much shit done, it's unavoidable at some point, you know, especially because there we are at this point, you cannot take 1 week off for healing, you know, it's integrated in your life, you know. I got a lot of shit done in the worst moments in my life when I shouldn't done it, but like that was the only moments I could done it. So
it's par for the course. At some point you're going to have something go wrong, but like overall it's pretty.
I mean, I have on me, it's also a lot is the more unhygienic circumstances I'm in, because we live a lot of the year in our camper van, and we off-road, off-grid, not full off-grid, but like, you know, like it's what it is, you know. So I got this car here, the big one. I got in the spring, like before the spring, still winter time, and we drive to Sardinia, and I just peel it off, and I know, I have like 3 or 4 days. I drive through the Alps, and I want to spend some days in the Alps, in the mountains, in the snow. And then I will pick my wife up in Italy from the airport, and we go to Sardinia, to the island. So then I was like, I have some days alone, so I can get something, and I heal it in that time, you know. But going from this in like minus temperatures in the snow, and I make cold plunges in the mountain with the fresh thing, and then I drive to Sardinia, and we are on the island, in the wild island, and like, it's still way too cold to go in the ocean to really soak it and clean it. And sometimes with the camper, water is the number one thing. Like, we have good solar and stuff, but water is we have to always be householding good with the water, because when the water is empty, we have to go back to like some city or somewhere to tank up water. So, the hygienic circumstances are questionable sometimes. Usually then, it's normally not a problem to jump in a cold ocean and take some soap, but when you have an open wound, you also not really want to do this. So, like, I had a big infection here, you know, and I leave here with this, and 6 weeks later, I come back home, and it was not healed. Let's say it like it is. And you're like, whoa, you know, and it's a big impact in the body. And also in that time, I'm somewhere, not here. I work a little less. I still edit on my laptop and I do a lot of things, but I have a little bit more time for training. So I was like, it looked okay. I put some antibiotic cream on it. I clean it and I let it for one day. I take some rest. The next morning, it feels good. I go run for 2 hours. I come back and it's just yellow, sweating, passing out, and like, oh no. And I take care one day and then I go run one day again, and then it was like this for 1 month. And what I say, it's very questionable, but I've done this many times. And for me, it's then this, my body's strong enough. I can do this. And I can do it. Yeah. But also at some point, would it not have been better to wait 2 weeks and and so on? It would. But I could not integrate it in my life. So then I wouldn't have this amount of stuff on my body. At some point, you have to integrate it in your life. And then it gets tricky. And you will get infections. You will get bad healings. You will have shit going on.
Yeah, I've gotten mad at my body quite a few times over the years where I'm like, I'm mentally strong enough. Why can't I be physically strong enough for this? Like I almost want a mechanical body that can't have these problems. Like it can just keep pace with your willpower and you don't have to make any compromises. It's like, if I can will this, then my body should be able to keep pace. But that's not how it works. And I have to tell people that quite often now, where it's, the body can only take so much in one session.
Yeah, at some point the body taps out. It's like this. I had this with many clients and I tattooed them in short amounts and I made full bodysuits in under 1 year. But at some point the body taps out. And then you have to make a decision. Like I had one guy, he had no tattoo. He saved money, he saved time, and he wanted a full bodysuit in under 1 year. And we planned it and we go for it. And he was a really big guy and he got a really complex design, with a lot of pattern, and the negative of the pattern we filled with gray. So it's not just black or scribble stuff. Like you see people done this in 6 hours, and it's just some scribbles. It's 80% of white skin, okay. It was a complex suit, so it took a lot. And at some point, at the end, there was probably 4 or 5 sessions left. His body tapped out, and we had big infections. And then we made together the decision, and we say, look, this is what it is. You need a rest now, half year or something. Or we just go for it. Everything will heal horrible. Then you have to take 1 year of rest and then we clean it up and retouch everything. And so we made together the decision. We make it in 1 year because that's what he wanted. He wanted the ritual and the experience. And I'm not someone who hold him back, but I'm also someone, I sit together with him and I had a serious talk and I explained him, this is what's going to happen. Your body will not be better. It will be not one thing affected and next session will heal good, it will only go downhill from now. And so we made the decision together. Everything was healed horrible. He had horrible last sessions because you was infected here and you tattooed there. And then next week looks even more worse and oh, fuck.
Oh, yeah.
And we tried.
Traveling.
And it is what it is, we just made the last sessions very close together. Fuck it fully then. And then we give him 1 year of rest and then we touched everything up and he's good science this, but it was his decision and it was his thing, and he know what he signed up for and then it's okay for me. But at some point the body taps out.
Yeah, you can only push so hard. I've found that with the layering that we're doing here too, it seems like a first pass of ink over black can only get so good. It'll only ever go in so much.
Yeah. The first pass, I would say, makes not much. The second and the third pass of white makes so much. But the first, it's always, I tell also my guys here, you say the customers, they want this and you make some cover-ups where you need a lot of white. The best start earlier. Start directly with the white. And then every session you maybe can make another layer. The more layer, the more white, or at some point it stops. But the first layers don't do too much.
I've done third passes. We haven't done any fourth passes yet. But at the end of the day, it's gonna get to a level, but it feels like it will always be duller than it would have been over negative space.
The problem is when you go for a 4th or 5th layer, it can be that the tattooing itself and a bad healing of that layer will make it erase more than it will make it saturate more.
Yeah. I mean, we got some things where they are still taking, but when they heal and they settle in, then they kind of go back to the same or some version of the same thing where it's, why did we even do this? You know, like I didn't get much return. And that's where I've seen people who are like they'll want to black out a sleeve for the purpose of doing white on black on top of the sleeve, but they've got all this negative space to start with, and that would be brighter.
Like this is like a no-brainer for me that this is stupid, you know.
It is.
What we speak like already before about, because it should be the last option. At some point, you have no other option, then you go black, okay, but like to start like this, I think this is really stupid. Point.
There was a girl doing a blackout like that I seen in town here she had anything there prior, and her whole idea was she's going to do white on black over top of it. And I'm like, why don't you just do that in the negative?
Because you need a better tattoo artist, you know.
It's just crazy to me to think, oh, I'll do it this way.
I think also because it's not so trendy, also then you see this black on black and stuff. And I mean, it looks good fresh, you know, but I'm in this game for very long, you know, like I done heavy black work stuff like more than like 20 years ago. I tattooed things like this. I tattooed black on black stuff. And I seen it 3-4 years later, and I know how it looks. I know tattoo work of me who is 20 years old, and I know how it looks and how it changed in the body, you know. And a white looks not the same 4 years later, point. And when you you have a black sleeve who is like 2 years old and you do black work on it, you see it. It looks cool. But it will not look like this 3 years later. I know it. I've seen it by many peoples, and it looks like this. And everybody tell me like, no, this is different. This is this technique. And I see the stuff 3 years later, and it looks the same, you know. And over the last 2 decades, I experienced that on me, on customers, on other people, on friends, on many examples. And I not once got proven the opposite, you know. I got proven many times that it can look cool when it's done, and maybe in the first year, but then like not, you know, or like what means not, but like.
You got to do so much. Like if you want to get into this, it's not going to be minimal work. You're not going to do it once and then it's going to be good forever. Like you kind of have to keep up on it, and you got to be willing to like really think about contrast. And like my brain has never thought more about contrast than it does now, where it's like every little bit matters. Like every part of this has to be, this thing's interacting with this thing so that this thing's pushed out and this thing's pulled apart, and like you're really trying to cram as much contrast into it as possible. It's not as simple as doing some white line work over a black sleeve, and that's not going to be enough. You have to change everything.
It looks good on the fresh Instagram picture, but
yeah. Yeah, I get so mad at those where people are just expecting you can just do a line style flower over your black arm and it's going to be great forever. This is a lifestyle. When you get into that kind of stuff, it becomes a lifestyle. If you want it to be something, it really has to be. And most people don't want to be getting tattooed every couple days, so I wouldn't recommend it to most people.
I mean, it's like, it's what it is. It costs money, it costs time, it's a hustle, it's what it is.
So I want to get back into the avoidance of the pain of like the anesthesia, numbing creams and all that stuff. I've seen that stuff from the mindset of like, I think I primarily do this for the experiential side of it and the endorphin and the journey and all that. And I see people not wanting to engage with that, but I've always got something very therapeutic and cathartic and really, really good from all of that. And I feel like a lot of people are skipping out on the best parts of it. And I've even got sort of psychedelic-esque experiences out of extreme pain too, where I've learned a lot about not just myself, but all kinds of things through experiencing those extremely painful sessions. I feel like it's a real loss that people don't engage with that if they don't go for that part of it. I've always had a lot of good times with like mushrooms. I'll use mushrooms and have a similar thing. And I don't think that you'll get anything psychedelic or transformative out of just going and buying a sleeve off a wall like a shirt. And so I think a lot of people are missing that experience.
Yeah, I mean, these days it's what it is. For me, I growed a lot about this. Pain was like always a big part of growth for me. Even I really hate pain, but like the ritual itself, and I mean, especially me as a tattooist, I was very known for this. And like many say still, I was the most painful tattooist ever exist. For me, it was always like, you know, a back piece is 100 points of pain. And I give you this 100 points of pain in like a very short time. So sure, it not hurts more. It's just more intense, you know, and everybody was happy at the end, you know, and hugged me. And very little I had that customers really freaked out and was really mad at me because I pushed them not to their borders. I don't like to push people to their borders. I love to let them cross that, to let them understand that everything is an illusion, some sort of. Pain is your mind, you know, and your mind is so much stronger. You think you cannot do this anymore, and then you make them sit down again, not by force, you know, I'd never forced anyone because like they can stand up and go, you know. I force them maybe with words, or I motivate them, or like I guide them through this, you know, because I had a lot of experience myself, how I guide myself through this. And it makes them stronger after, because when you think like, that's it, I cannot do, I'm at the end, and then you sit down again and you get tattooed another fucking 1 hour with me, where 1 hour means like 1/3 of a back. Then like you stand up after and you're like, wow, you feel immortal, you know, and this tattoo becomes an armory for you, a warrior armory. And it's a reminder of how strong you can be when you think that you cannot do anything anymore. And then you crossing that and you push forward. And this is what I love the most about ritualistic things. It's you have to bring yourself to a point where you believe you cannot make another step, and then you start running. And yeah, this I love about this. This for me, everything is about the ritualistic side of it, you know. Also on me, like especially in the early years, you know. And no, it's hard to say. No, I have what I told you before. I have different rituals I do, you know. I not stop pushing boundaries to myself. I never. But I don't have to push them with tattooing because I was there. I had a lot of crazy sessions. I had a lot of big sessions. I pushed my body in a lot of parts there. And I know what I can do when I want. The thing is, nowadays, I don't want to go there anymore. Because I know I can take this energy and go with that energy somewhere else, where I not was before. And I love to experience more things than repeating the same stuff. But that's to me. And yeah, I love the journey of, I don't want to say I love the journey of the pain, you know. I love the journey of the experience where pain is part of it.
Yeah. Well, pain has to be part of everything to make it worthwhile, I think. I mean, I get this from
pain and fear, you know, because fear is the most, it's like also how people get controlled the most. It's by fear. Society control most of humans over fear, you know. So pain and fear are very close connected. You are a lot, like when it comes to fear, most people are the most fear they have is for pain. It's like pain is like one of the really big things you're scared, you know. But also many of the things in life who are bringing the most joy are connected deeply to pain. Take love, take a marriage, a family, whatever. The peoples you love the most are the peoples who can hurt you the most. Your girlfriend probably have hurt you more times than you want. And when you was once fall really in love, you got also really hurt, you know, and a pain was really hard. And it's connected. What means when you then recover from like a crazy love story you had, you will not retire from this because the love is so precious that you not want to give this up. And you are telling yourself it's worth it, you know, and I take this chance of pain on me to experience love again. And so is how I see everything in life. The higher the outcome, the more the chances you get hurt. But you should not stop yourself because you feared of getting hurt, you know. And I know I don't like pain, but I also know I'm not scared to hurt. Because I only hurt myself when I know it's worth it, you know.
Yeah, and worth it is, it's going to be a different thing for different people. But I've definitely experienced that in all kinds of different forms, and I just think that people so often mistake it for a love of pain necessarily, and it's more just it's an indifference or an appreciation for it, but not necessarily the real thing that you're after. It's more like that's just what you have to go through to get. Like I've said, it's pain is the price of admission for anything you want in life. Like you're not going to get anything great without having some adversity there. So I think it's a real shame that most people aren't wanting to engage with that at all anymore. I guess it's such a shame to lose a really valuable part of it, I think. And there was a time when you would look at something like that and you would go, oh, that took a lot of work to get there, and now it's not really that way anymore for a lot of people. And I just think it's lost something in the transition, but it is what it is. I've learned a lot about myself through those moments, so I don't think people are having those experiences in life in general anymore, you know.
I mean, with most experience where I would say it's the self-inflicted pain situation thing, it means you can't tap out, while in a love story, you cannot tap out. When your girlfriend leaves you there is no tapping out of this pain, you know. But while in a tattoo session, you can just tap out. So that means to endurance this, it's commitment, it's your mind, it's your strength, it's nothing else, you know. But you can tap out, like when I go in a long race, you can anytime, you don't have to finish it, you know. So you can just go home. But when you go for 100 kilometers, it's a long fucking distance. And at some point, you're in so much pain, you're so broken, and your mind start playing crazy games. And then you are alone out somewhere in a mountain, like in the night with a headlight. And you're like, it's just you and your mind. And every step, it's like, man, like, that's it. Like, I cannot do one more step. And then at some point, you just like, okay, one more step. And you have to you really have to start playing against your mind, you know? And then you're up there and you start laughing, you start crying, and you're like, why I'm doing this, you know? Like, no one forces me to this. I can just stop, you know? At the next aid station, maybe I just take the taxi back, you know, or whatever, you know? But it's this self-inflicted thing that you can tap out anytime, while some other stuff in life you can't. And this is what makes you grow, because it's the struggle in your mind, and you understand your mind and you learn from your mind, and you learn that just because your mind and your body say no, it doesn't mean no. It means nothing. It's a start of an argument with yourself, maybe.
I'm more afraid of not growing or changing than I am of, like, you know, the growing and changing. I feel like a lot of people are very complacent and comfortable, and they are scared of what's next. And to me, it's like, I don't ever want there to not be a what's next. As long as I'm alive, there has to be more. Like, I think around the time I was 30, I had achieved most of the goals that I had for myself when I was young. Like, if you were to roll the credits in a Disney movie, it probably would have happened on my wedding night. But I think it's like, well, what do you do next? You've got another 50, 60 years to go. You don't just stop doing new things or recreating yourself or experiencing it. But I think so many people just go, well, I guess I just live now and watch TV and eat chips, and, you know, it's over. I may as well just exist and get old and give up. And to me, I don't really ever want to do any of that. I just want to keep creating new things and pushing new ways and see where it ends up. And if it's all just gravy on top, or, you know, just more, I don't really want to just exist and call it a day. So for me, it's like, what do you do next? That's always the case. What do you do next? What's next? Like, where are you going next? And I don't ever really want that to be, you know, an afterthought. I don't want to be complacent. And I think that scares a lot of people. See, people get attached, even to my own body. More people are attached to the pictures on my body than I am. And I find that very strange. I don't feel too attached to any one state that I'm in. So, for example, if the next time we spoke, all of these pictures are different, that doesn't upset me, but it upsets a good portion of people.
But it's just pictures on your body. And the question is, where are you going next?
Yeah.
You know, because you're still going the same place, just like different roads.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just...
Because this is a scary part. Because I closed one chapter on my life. Like, I closed it. And I'm going somewhere else now. And it's different. It's fresh, you know, but like I still going some roads in my old chapter. I get still some ink and stuff, but that's not like my new life anymore, you know. No, I'm a filmmaker. I'm building up like a different life and I make different things than I done before. I'm not a tattooist anymore and I'm not like into all of this. I look like this and it's still a big part of my life because here it's big part in silent, but half of the year I'm not even in silent. So I'm more into living in the wild with a camper and with a tent and going in the bush and running and stuff than I'm with the tattoo world, because this is where I going next. And I know what you mean. You think about where I going next on my body, but it's kind of still the same chapter and the same genre. It's just repeating. And maybe some people, they see it like this, but some people, they just see little surfaces and they are like, oh, where is he going next?
Yeah.
That was when I was tattooing. I was also at some point, a lot of people say what would have been when I would have still keep tattooing, you know? And I like as an artist to go on the peak where I was like, I think I left the tattoo world in the right time when I now look back, because I was on the peak of what I'd done on my creations. I pushed tattooing forward till the end. And I not had a dive, because in the moment before I dived, I was stop, and I not quit. I was just knowing this is my part to leave. And I'm curious where I go next, but not where I go next with tattooing, where I go next with life, you know? What is the next chapter? And to see how far can I go in the chapter? Also to prove to myself, to others, because everybody like, yeah, you have a talent, you had luck, you had this. And I don't. I like work for myself since I'm 14. I get kicked out as a kid. I get never anything in my life. Everything I own and I have, I worked with my hand and with my mind. And like, while other people's made party and go to parties and disco and festivals and stuff with young age, I was sitting at home. I painted and I tattooed and I give everything into this. I didn't go to conventions and do guest spots and stuff, not because because I was knowing I don't want to be a famous tattooist. I want to push tattooing, and I need to be for myself. I need to be separated from the world, and I need to build up a place where I have people who allow me to push this. And this cannot be with the influence of the tattoo world. And all of this was coming together so I can push it and I can go further in what I wanted to do, to see how far can I go. This was never luck. This was never talent or anything, you know. And people always say, oh, you do so much different things. You can do everything. And like, no, I cannot do everything. I just can do the stuff I want to do because I put the time and the effort and the hustle inside to learn it and to do it. And the commitment, you know. So you only see me doing stuff I do good because I do only stuff I want to do. And when I want to do something, I'm not afraid to put the work inside and the research and the learning and the failing, you know. Like, I'm not afraid to fail, but before you're getting good, you fail many times.
I mean, I think that's the thing that not everybody is... Like, it would never be an excuse. I'm not giving anyone an excuse, but I see different amounts of drive in different people. I just think some people are a little more confident, a little less afraid to go for it than others. Like, even in this shop, there are some overachievers and underachievers here, and I don't know what that correlates to specifically, but I do see some people who want it more than others all over the world, and just seem to have more drive for it. But I don't know if that's something that you're born with or conditioned for or what it is, but there's definitely something to that. I don't think that anyone is ever really lucky. I think that some people are just...
No, trust me, there are people's lucky. There are people's lucky. I mean, you get born in a rich family, you are lucky.
Yeah, fair
You
enough.
are born like in a very poor family in a third world, you are not lucky. Point. I mean, we are born into a first world country. We are already lucky. Even that I was born in a good family and I had a lot of shit in my growing up in my childhood. I'm still lucky that I was born still in a good country, because when I had experienced all of this in a bad country, wow, I would have way less opportunities than I had. Still, I had less opportunities than some people born in good families with already a lot of opportunities. What doesn't mean you cannot make yourself opportunities in life.
Yeah.
And also, I believe the less opportunities you have, that means the more strong you have to be to fight against this, and the more commitment you have to be, and the more successful you will probably be. Because most people who already got too much, they are too lazy. They don't learn the commitment part of it. And the commitment part is what brings you really further.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's more what I'm thinking is people who are born to more or less the same circumstances and one going farther than another. So, for example, being in the same family, same upbringing, and then one brother goes and does all this and then the other does so little. You know, I don't know what that necessarily correlates from, but it is what it is. Like, both of you were similarly lucky or had the same life stance or opportunities, and one takes it further than the other
But
does.
it is also a much more philosophical question, because maybe just you are in a family and your brother is like an overachiever. Maybe that's the reason why you are like an underachiever, because then you are grown up with always having the perfect example who not makes you fight for it, because you think you have this comparison to your brother and you know you will be not so good, so you not even try. So, you know, like,
Yeah.
maybe that person would be a completely different person without that overachieving brother. So,
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I wanted to mention, people are always asking me if my son is planning on getting into all of this. He's I think around a little bit older than your daughter, and he's not really had any interest in tattoos. I think for him it's been too normal. Like, the whole lifestyle has been way too just integrated into his life. He doesn't see it the same way that I did, where it was this kind of rebellious or risky behavior or something. I don't know what you want to call it. He's just grown up with it integrated into his life, and so it hasn't really been anything special for him. Whereas your daughter is seemingly going to be as good at this as she wants to be.
it's hard to say, because she's a child. She had phases where she was tattooing more, phases she was tattooing less. It most likely comes from her. And sometimes people come and they want something, but she's not motivated and she don't do it. Then I would say the last year she had like a long phase of the year where she was really motivated, where it was like, yeah, I want to do more like this. I want to learn something. Then she start really learning some skills, get her own machines. She now have like these rotary pens where like no one can help her, because everybody tattoos with coils. I never tattooed with a rotary, so she's kind of by herself experimenting a little bit. But she's also know a lot of the tattoos know, like, then I sit in my office and then she comes in the tattoo, I need your help quick. And then I have to come 1 or 2 times while the tattoo session to help her a little bit, but the rest she's full on by herself now. She makes the full thing completely by herself. And then she was more motivated. Right now she seems like very little motivated and like kind of maybe want to do something completely different. It's very hard to say. She's no, like, she in a few months she get 14, so she's still very young, but like now comes the teenager phase, so also a lot change, you know, the rebellious time start. And it's hard to say. She had phases where she was much more into all of this kind of lifestyle, and phases where she knows she's a super girly teenager, like super normal, looking like every other girl, and wearing the same stuff, looking the same, doing the same things. It's hard to say. It's a phase of that she becomes. I don't think that she ever becomes like this on a long distance, because she's seen too much from both sides of the world. But it's hard to say right now, because I can't. It's we all was teenagers, and one day this is your ultimative. That is me. And half year later, you look completely the opposite, and you are the opposite, and you have other hobbies and other things. And then this is absolutely you.
Yeah, no, my son just turned 15, so they're near the same age, but like, he doesn't. Like, people always wonder what he thinks of any of what I've done, and for him, it's just second nature. It's always been the way it is, and so there's no different experience for him. And but similarly, like, because of that, I don't think that he's probably really going to do a whole lot of it himself. He's got, a nose piercing and a couple of earrings, but by the time I was his age, I already had a full face of piercings and, my first couple tattoos and whatever else. And he's had no interest in any of it, really. It's very interesting. People would assume it would be the exact opposite, I'm pretty sure, but he's not really that taken with any of it. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, childs are also more free. Just because you're tattooed means nothing for them. That's who you are,
Yeah.
Like, point. I mean, maybe also for Maya it's different. She grew up here in Thailand, and like, it's not only me who have tattoos, Also back then, like, I was tattooing, and a lot of my friends tattooing and so on. And it's like, her mom have a lot of tattoos, and everybody in her life have a lot of tattoos. And like, I think it's different. Like, she was playing it, like, even when I had, when she was here with me in Thailand, when she was very young, it was always, she was 1 week here and 1 week with her mom. And so we rotated, and every time she was here, I never worked in that time. So she pretty much see me almost never tattooing. She just know I'm tattoo, and she knows how they look, because a lot of friends and family and people have my work on it. But she never seen me much at work. But still, when she was with me, a lot of times she had her own little table and her own space in the tattoo studio, where she then sit there and paint and do stuff in between while the others was tattooing. And it was kind of, sometimes she liked, and no, I'm not staying in my room, I want to paint something, I go down in the studio to paint. And then it was more also normal for her that she sit on her little chair in the middle of the studio and paint, It was just, it's part of her home. So I think it's also different than when you like go in the tattoo studio or go in somewhere, because our tattoo studio is more part of our home. And so it was for her. And sometimes when she felt like a little bit action going on, she goes down there. So she grew up, people screaming, suffering. I don't know if that makes sense, but like for her was like normal. Then she had have some talks with the clients, and I like a lot of interesting people and a lot of interesting stories. And I start speaking with her English since she's born, since she's a baby. So I kind of teach her both languages. But already then, she had phases where she was really into English then, or even when she was younger. So every time there was some customers who was from Germany, who is quite a lot here, then she was start going down to speak some English, And then she had phases where she really hated to speak English, and then she was very angry when I speak English with her. But a lot of time I only speak English with her. And then she like, no, you don't. But no, many years later, she's very happy that I teach her English, because in school, she knows all of this already, and they have to do nothing. And sometimes she joked that she speaks better English than her teacher. And it's silly, and like, then I see sometimes with other kids in the same age, it's a big advantage, and for me, like, English is like, we need English, in the world. I never learned English in school, really. I had a little bit and I was give a shit. So I go out of school, I could not speak English. Then at some point I see my clients come from all the world and I was very bad. So I had to learn English myself. And then I spent like 2 years of just reading and watching films in English and learning English.
Yeah, I mean, it's a useful thing to be able to speak English. Most people speak English, but yeah, no, something in there about her being exposed to a greater community of tattooed people, whereas my son really has only ever really interacted with me that way. Like, there's no one else in our community that's, like, even in this city, I would say I'm by far the most heavily tattooed person. And maybe in all of the province or even parts of of Canada, there's no one else that's really that modified. So it's really that I'm kind of his only link to that. And I don't think he was ever really exposed to it in the same way as Maya would have been, where it was really normal. Whenever we went out, people would stare, and there was no real culture around what I was doing. It was just kind of a one-off. Like even when I'm talking to you, this is the first conversation I've had with an extremely modified person since the last time we spoke. Like, it's not at all common here in any way. So, like, we don't have this community of people that it shows that it's more or less normal in our own way, you know? So I think that that's something that would probably change his perspective on it, but I don't know.
But I mean, it's like they have to go their own paths at some point anyway, you know? They have to go their own paths anyway. And
Yep, totally. So how is her tattooing coming along now? You mentioned that she's sometimes into it, sometimes not.
yeah, I will give you some new work from her that you can showcase. It's very interesting. Like, she started making more stuff with kind of this neo-traditional style with a mix of a little bit abstract, because she really likes the shading. And then I teach her a little bit how light comes and stuff. And now she makes all of this by herself. And that she really enjoy with the big magnum to make nice shadings, and she was get a little bit into this. I think also she liked the idea to make a little bit things different than everybody here, you know, like the Kritzelkatzel. But then she tried one motif to make it a perfect motif, but then she also see like, oh, holy shit, making bold, clean lines is not that easy. And the tattoo looked good, but she was very frustrated. Because I think also she knows how tattoos can look like, and she feels like, this is how I want to make it, but then she see like, I cannot do it. That was also when she was like, tell me that she want to learn more and that she would really like to have more technique. But I also tell her like, yeah, just make your neo-traditional shading and make one nice bold outline, and then you make 2 or 3 sketchy lines around. So the bold outlines, you still make a little bit overlapping on some parts. Then it still looks cool, abstract, but every line you make, you get better with making lines, you know? It's what it is. You just have to tattoo a lot and to get better. And I mean, it's up to her. She had phases she was motivated. She like write with some clients, and there are some people driving 3-4 hours to her for a session. It's really crazy, you know? Like, most adult tattoo artists not have their customer driving so far. And I remember like one day, like I walk into it like, oh, what you are doing here, you know, because she was supposed to be at her mom, and she like, oh yes, I have an appointment here. And then she write with someone and make appointment herself, and then he comes, and then she's here like, okay. And then she makes appointments here by herself. But then she have moments she's less motivated, you know, so it's also like, you kind of, I mean, on one hand, I kind of also try to push her and motivate her a little bit, because I know this could be something she can make an easy, good life with. And she could probably become a very ridiculous good tattoo artist. And
starting from such a young age,
But it's also like, for me, it's like this crazy. Then I try to talk with her, and I like, you know, then I have this Philippe Bleu example, you know, then I tell her, Philippe Bleu was one of like, you know, I really looked up to when I started tattooing. And he started tattooing with 14, you know? Like he was still, like Maya, still not 14, you know? And like to see how far someone who started with 14 was pushing it at that time. I have no idea what would be when Maya would push it, you know, but for this, it have to come from her. Yeah. So I can maybe push her a little bit and help her a little bit, but it not can come from me. And this to understand. And I can tell her also, no, then I had a long talk and I like say her, you know, it's the best time. I know you are a teenager and you maybe don't want to do other stuff, but no would be your best time because no, you're still young enough that you will have a lot of people to come to you because for them it's also to collect something from someone young. But let it be, give it her 2-3 years and then she want to get into, then she is 17. Like there are a lot of 17 years old tattoo, like not super good, you know? So, right now, would be her peak when she really want, and she could right now make something that she can benefit the rest of her life. But I understand this. But she's a 13-year-old kid, you know, who is now arriving to puberty. So yeah, it is what it is, you know. I can have a talk with her and try to explain her, but that's it.
Do you ever think like what things would be like if you could go back? Like when you were younger and start from the foundation of learning you have now, like where would you be now if you could start young again? You know, I think about that with even my own like bodysuit, like how many different choices I would make if I could start over with fresh canvas, or where I could be in life if I could start my career over again from the knowledge I have gained now and all the failures and all the shit that's come along the way.
Yeah, but that's something we will never figure out, you know. Also,
yeah.
It's what it is.
That's what I think with my. That's what I want for my son. Where it's like, I want to be able to. I want him to make his own decisions. I wish I could prepare him better, but he's got to make his own.
Yeah,
choices.
That's the thing. You have to make your own experience. You know, I also would love that my daughter never have to suffer any of the pain I suffered or made any of the bad experience I done. But without that bad experience, I would not know they are bad experience and I would have not learned anything from it. So yeah, some sort of, she have to do all of these experiences, you know, and some sort of that I sit here and I know like, oh man, when you know, like with like social media as example, you know, she have her, like Instagram, I think she have like 17,000 followers or something. What is more than all the other tattoo artists in Silent. So it's like, and I tell her like, you know, you spend your fucking half day on the phone because that's what the teenagers these days do, you know, because that's what they do. And I like, when you spend from this time, 2 minutes a day for your social media to work, you will probably make a living with it when you are 18. But she don't. She give a shit, you know. Then she have sometimes she's motivated, then she posts every day for like 2 weeks, and then she posts sometimes, and then she don't post anything for 3 months, you know.
And with that, you have to be pretty disciplined too. Social media is such it's like you have to be on time every day with these posts, or else the algorithm completely drops you off, and it's a real pain in the ass that a lot of people don't even understand.
Yeah, it's a real pain in the ass, but also we are not childs who spend already 10 hours a day on a phone anyway, and half the time, you know what I mean? We manage this
the only time
in between of all the other stuff.
The only time I spend on social media, I consider work. It's just posting and then getting back to it. I don't spend a whole lot of time scrolling, and I don't understand this. Like people they'll lay in bed and they'll scroll on their phones for hours and hours and hours on end.
You need time for this. Yeah. But the kids have the time. So yeah, I'm like also in a bit of a mixed state with her, like kind of a frustrated dad, but also like whatever. I mean, she have to make her own experience. It will be said that later you say, I told you so, but that's how life is.
Yeah.
And maybe she makes something completely different. Maybe she like in 3 years, she say, I really want to be a tattooist. Because like life is probably like, yeah, I like it because I know she likes creative arty stuff. And I mean, she also knows she have a lot of opportunities, like more than many with that. Maybe not with other things. Like she goes on like a special school, like a private school where she not really get notes and things. It's a more free teaching thing, like on the edge of what's legal here. And so she grows a lot as a person with this, but like when she want to have a normal job, she have to make some extra school after, and she have it harder to make something more connected to society later on. But it's a different belief, you know. Also, as a person, you see she grown so much compared to others, because they are on the school, there are many teachers, and they help her with everything she want to learn. But there's no one who forces her to learn something. Also, there are no tests, there are no notes, there's no judgment, but there are people who support her with anything she wants to do. And it helps her to figure out earlier in her life what she want to do, what person she is. While others, they just go to the school system and they have to learn, they have to make homework, they have to make notes, they get judged on how good they can learn, you know, and then their judgment get compared to other kids, and that's how they build up their self-esteem and so on, you know. In my eyes, there's plenty of things wrong in the normal school system. So that's why my kid not go in a normal school system. But it has pros and cons, you know. When she want to have a normal life later in normal society, she have to put some extra work and make some extra papers or whatever to have this, you know. But you cannot have everything, you know. Later on, you can also say she go on a normal school, and later on, like, why the fuck you bring me to a normal school, you know? Like, I have all of these opportunities here. I don't want this. Like, it can be both parts, you know. You never know. You as a parent, you have to make these decisions for your kid, you know. And for myself, it's hard because I know I never was happy in society, and I know most people are not happy in society. When I see most people, they talk from their work and this and that, but like they're not happy from it, you know. They're like happy when they come home from work. And for me, it's very simple. I always working, but I'm not, because like it's my hobby. I always live my life, and my life is my work. So I always working, but I never work.
You're always Lily Lou. Lily Lou is all of your life and all of your work and one together. And that's where my life has become too. For a long time, it wasn't that way. I had that 9-to-5 job where, you punch in, punch out. You can't wait to be done. The last couple of years, that hasn't been my life anymore. And it has been. It's a mixed bag, because I feel like I'm never off now, but at the same time, I'm much more free to do whatever I want. There's no more, if I do this, I can't. Like, it's all just whatever I want it to be now.
Yeah, and I mean, in my eyes, this is what life should be. When you are thinking about, when it's finally time to punch out, you know, this shouldn't be like this. This is not something I wish to my daughter, you know, and whatever happens, I hope she find peace, and she find love, and she find happiness, and she find real pleasure in life. But I don't know if it's my path, her path, if it's normal path is her path, but I know that most normal paths, people are not really happy within it. That's why they consume drugs, that's why they consume alcohol, that's why they hang on the phone and consume television, and they are speaking from, they're happy when it's weekend. Like in my world, there is no weekend, you know, there are no holidays, there are no weekends. I always working because I don't work.
I wanted to bring up one more thing, and this is a great segue. We just talked about like drugs and alcohol and how people use these things for escapism. What do you think of the ink ban in most of Europe, I guess? They're talking about bringing it to Canada too, where certain colored inks can't be used in tattoos anymore. I personally think it's pretty preposterous that we can sell people cigarettes and alcohol, but we're banning tattoo inks.
Yeah, I mean, I see it very similar. I mean, in my eyes, beside from this point, they will make other ink. We had this before some years, and they banned a lot of ink, and then the brands make just the inks a little bit different, and then they allowed just the ink is a lot more expensive. And for me, I compare a lot to the smoking thing, because like you go in a supermarket, cigarettes are in the like in the precious part of the supermarket, you know. So the high ranked place to put something in the supermarket are cigarettes. They're so easy access, the same as alcohol. And then you take sugar, alcohol, and cigarettes are the three biggest drugs. So go in any supermarket and see the amount of alcohol, sugar, and candy and unhealthy food. this is like more than half of the supermarket. But yes, and then they say, how many people died from tattooing? Like, how many people die in a year from smoking? 8 fucking million. Like, 8 fucking million, And from this, I think it's 1.5 million of dying from passive smoking. Just because they're exposed too much to it and so on, And it's ridiculous for me, that like they not ban shit like this. Because they make a lot of money with it. I think maybe they try to make this bun stuff to control it more, so that it ends up that only certain amount of ink from one brand or from one distributor can be sold. So the government knows exactly this amount gets sold, so they can make more money, and there is no much black money going on and under the hand and so on. And I don't know, maybe it's connected to this more than it's connected to the health factor,
This is what I was thinking, is if they could find a way to make a percentage of tax off of ink, you'd be selling it on every street corner. And I don't know anyone who's ever died from tattooing. I don't know one person.
Yeah, maybe there are some things when people's got an infection and the infection got untreated and there's some stuff on top. I can imagine there was something. But yeah, you normally don't die from this. And even when there would be like a couple of people die, compare of how many people's got tattoos, and that's nothing,
Yeah, it's not even close. But I have so many people who see, for example, the multiple sessions that I have that think that I'm going to die from this, or I'm going to get skin cancer or something. These are the same people who are usually drinking and smoking cigarettes. It's like,
yeah, I mean, I have to say, in my comments, I joke a lot about this, People's like this, but then they smoke. And I mean, smoking 1 pack of cigarette is probably already more unhealthy for your body than most things we do. So,
yeah. You smoke a pack of cigarettes, it's probably worth more than a couple thousand hours of tattooing, I would think.
I mean, what you expose your body is like it's what it is, huh?
But I guess it's just whatever's normal and done more.
Yeah, because it's accepted by, it's this normal thing, but also like, I mean, society, just because things are normal doesn't mean they are good.
No, not at all. Most of what we do normally is definitely not good for us. So I think it's a little silly that we're banning all this ink and selling all this other shit on the side that's so much worse for us than we already know. So, but I'm getting people ask me a lot about that these days, because I think they're going to be bringing that to Canada soon, and I just think that it makes it to a place where if you can't get these colored inks from a trusted source, you're probably still going to get them.
You will get them.
Then I think it actually would probably make the whole thing more dangerous, realistically, if all of a sudden now you're using colors that aren't sold by...
It's hard to say, because it definitely will not stop the core, and if it will not stop a lot of people's, but like, you think about how many mainstream tattoo studios are out there. And they definitely will be affected, And then it's like, I mean, for us here in Silent, we like not use a lot of colors anyway, so most it's black, and black is not a problem, so...
Yeah, it wouldn't, I'm thinking like broader on this, because there's certain like body mod type surgeries that are done by people who probably shouldn't be doing them, because the people who could do them in Canada, for example, are illegal. Like, it's illegal for them to do them, and so then they end up getting done by people who shouldn't be doing them. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm always wondering, like, why we can't have these things done by people who should be able to do them, and then people end up getting them done by places that shouldn't be doing them. Like, I had a friend who had their tongue split by someone in a basement, and they had all kinds of problems. But there are people in Canada that can do those things but can't advertise that they can do them, because they could lose their business, or they could get fined or charged, or whatever the case. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, Time will show. But yeah, the thing is, like, I heard on all this just for my guys on the side. I'm not so much in. Also, with all the organization of the shop and stuff, I'm pretty out of this. It's like, okay, it's okay when there are problems with the color, but it's not my problem, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Anyway, I'm thinking it's getting pretty late. I'm gonna have to take my wife to work soon. It was nice chatting with you again. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Sure.
Take care.